This video is sponsored by Exter. In the Space Marines, there's a thing called the Successor Chapters, which are offshoots of regular Space Marine chapters to create a new grouping of guys. The Crimson Fists are a successor chapter to the Imperial Fists, and they're a little bit different in their color scheme and their battle doctrines, but overall, they're a card-carrying member of the Imperial Fists. There are rules to this sort of stuff. This strict organizational structure is something very important to the Space Marines, and it gives them a lot of flavor, but there is something kind of fun about no rules, like the Chaos Space Marines and their warbands. With Chaos Space Marines, because there are no rules, you can have things like the Emperor's Children, who are a traitor legion of Chaos Space Marines who worship the god Slaanesh, but you can also have other Chaos Space Marines who worship Slaanesh and don't necessarily share any lore with the Emperor's Children, other than a shared love of the color pink. I like Slaanesh, but I'm not all that jazzed about the Emperor's Children, so maybe a little Angels of Ecstasy would be a fun experiment to try. I cracked open the Chaos Legionary box and clipped myself out a guy. Haven't put together a ton of Chaos Legionaries at this point, I'm definitely developing a soft spot for this kit. I am working on a Chaos Space Marine army, one that I would like to take on the road with me. And that'll be super easy with today's sponsor. You can say goodbye to your thick floppy old wallet and replace it with one of the all-new card holders from Exter. These snazzy wallets are half the size of normal wallets, but still have plenty of room to carry all the cash you need and up to 12 different cards. And if you need those cards in a jiffy, the Exter will push them out for you with the pull of a trigger so your cards are available in seconds. The wallet itself is made of a sleek vegan leather and recycled aluminum, with built-in RFID protection to keep you safe from data thieves. And if you're the type of person to misplace things, the Exter card holder fits perfectly in the wallet and lets you locate it right on your phone. Exter is all about making travel easier too, and their travel vacuum kit is the perfect tool for saving space on the go. When I travel, I like to pack light, so I can use that extra room for all the new minis I buy at conventions, and the travel pack vacuum kit makes this a breeze. The strong, waterproof nylon travel bag compresses my clothing into a small size, leaving me with plenty of room for more minis. It makes my clothes take up 60% less room, and the included portable USB-C rechargeable air pump is good for over 20 uses on a full charge. Right now, they're having a Valentine's Day sale until the 25th for up to 45% off. And if you shop with the code BATTLE, you can get an additional 20% off. That's up to 65% off if you buy today, so click the link in the description to check it out. Slaaneshi worshippers to me have a more chainsword and bolt pistol feeling to them, rather than the bolter, so I clipped out these close combat parts and I drilled out the barrel of the bolt pistol. After gluing these bits on, I mixed myself up some green stuff. I like to put a little ball of green stuff under the shoulder pads of my Legionaries to help bulk them up a little. Their Loyalist counterparts might have the Primaris upgrade in size, but Legionaries should be just as, if not more dangerous with their Chaos power-ups. With the shoulders on there, I went looking for a head, with something that doesn't really exist in the 40k range. A Space Marine head that is smiling. I found this head out of the Chaos Legionary Kill Team box. This will make my guy look properly sinister. But is it just me, or did they make the neck way too long? I clipped and trimmed this to be much more appropriate sized, and then I glued it in place. Now my little Angel of Ecstasy is looking dapper. As somebody dabbling with Chaos Space Marines, I do like the Emperor's Children a lot. But I'm not super interested in an Emperor's Children army. I've read the Codex, I've played against it several times, and it's neat, I get the play pattern, it's chargin'. Their army ability, Thrill Seekers, is advance and charge, fall back and charge, always be chargin'. And that's neat, but it's not what got me interested in Slaanesh. I like Noise Marines, the classic Slaaneshi units, and arguably they don't really benefit from being Emperor's Children. The Thrill Seekers keyword does nothing for them. They don't want to advance and charge, they want to stand back and shoot. And so when you ally them into a regular old Chaos Space Marine army, the Thrill Seekers keyword is replaced with Dark Pact. And Dark Pact, lethal or sustained on all those 24 Noise Marine shots, that starts to get a little spicy. You stand that squad near a Hellbrute, something that Codex Emperor's Children doesn't get to take, but it's a-okay in Chaos Space Marines, all of a sudden that squad is getting the benefit of both lethal and sustained. The Angels of Ecstasy have got me a little bit more interested in Slaanesh than Emperor's Children. The Slaanesh faction. My little Angel of Ecstasy has got my math hammer brain buzzing, and now he needs a base. I grabbed a Cobalt Keep magnet base and got to work inventing. I wanted smashed up marble ground for my little Dark Angel, but not that kind of Dark Angel. I glued some 1/4 inch cork down to half the base and I added a second stack. Then I dremeled this cork tower on an angle and smoothed it up with a nail file. Once I was happy with my shape, I did the same on the other side. Like the ground is cracked in half with a chasm in the middle, and I sanded this smooth as well. To make the surface smooth, I smeared on some Tamiya basic putty all over the ground, smearing it with a toothpick to fill in all the natural cracks and textures in the cork. Once that was dry, I did a second layer to build up the thickness. Once that layer had dried too, I sanded the surface with a sanding twig to get it really smooth. With my surface looking good, I poured some sand into the crack and locked it in place with a few drops of ultra thin super glue. Then I put the base and the guy up on some paint handles, but I did not glue them down yet. I think it'll be much easier to paint them separately. And speaking of painting, I hit my guy with a black prime. The Angels of Ecstasy color scheme is a light pink with black trim and a deathly pale white skin. Very different from the hot pink and glittering gold of the standard Emperor's Children. To get this color, I started out airbrushing a base coat of Violent Vermilion. This is a weird orangey pink color that I applied in 2 coats to build up the saturation. Then over this, I sprayed on ice yellow like a zenithal shooting it from above. This lightens the orange, but because of the warmth, it didn't desaturate too much. It still looks pink and fleshy. These airbrush layers left behind a dry texture, and I hit the model with a satin varnish to make it nice and smooth in preparation for a wash. I mixed Goddess Glow speed paint with a lot of thinner, and I put this over the entire mini. Because it's so thin, it only tints the surface a little and really settles in the recesses, turning the cracks and crevices into a bloody red. These colors work together to give me a really interesting look to what is usually a grimdark mini. I would say he's still grimdark, just in a different way. This is a killer pink. I've used pink as a base coat for oranges and yellows to get them super vibrant, and it's really worked out. Seems like orange and yellow is also a really good base coat for a nice fleshy pink. I'm definitely gonna have to remember this recipe when it comes to my own Slaaneshi projects, but the Angels of Ecstasy, they're a Chaos warband that doesn't have a ton of lore about them, but there is a really cool story. This warband was battling against the Eldar and losing badly, and when the Howling Banshees showed up to finish them off, they used their psychic screech to blow out the eardrums of the Astartes, and these being Slaaneshi worshippers, they heard this noise and thought, ooh, this is a fun new sound. It rejuvenated them and gave them a second wind, leading to them winning the battle. I like that story. It just shows off the weird wackiness that is Chaos Space Marines. And this little Chaos Legionary needs a couple of more colors. With my pink applied, the next step is all the black trim. And black is a boring color to paint with, so I cheated and snuck in a little bit of scarab green to get a little bit of color into this layer. Then I picked out all the trim. This is always the pain point for Chaos Space Marines. The trim is tiny and hard to reach, but it is worth it to get that chaotic look. Once all the trim was black, or rather very dark green, I took some pure scarab green and did a little bit of highlighting. These dark green colors next to the light pink look very dark, but there's a little more going on than just matte black. To hit the other black parts, like the undersuit, loincloth, and weapons, I switched to a grim black speed paint. This transparent layer lets some of the textures show through in these details so that this one coat can do a lot of work for me. For the weapons, I want them simple and dark. I don't want anything to pull focus away from the weird pink armor, so I hit these with a little bit of dry brushing of gunmetal and called it done. Now for the other weirdness, his skin. The artwork shows him with Voldemort white skin, which I don't think would give enough contrast to really be exciting. I decided to lighten the scarab green I've been using to a light blue gray, and I base coated the head with this new color. It looks a little towy, but I'm not done yet. I kept mixing in more white paint, layering this on, brightening up his head a lot, especially on his face and his chrome dome. After a few layers of highlighting, he was looking funky. All the drugs and partying this Slaaneshi cultist has been doing has left him with an interesting shade of blue. Once I was highlighting with pure white paint, he was really starting to look like something, and I dotted his eyes with a dollop of black paint and then a smaller dot of white. Look at this fella, he's kinda freaky looking, which is perfect. And looking at that head, I like how the light blue is looking and the black trim is looking kinda bland in comparison to the other details. So I decided to take this color and do some more edge highlighting around the trim. I didn't hit everywhere, just on the easy to reach spots, and on all the rivets. I think this adds a ton to the model. And you know what else adds tons to models? All the hobby products available from EonsOfBattle.com. On our website, we have all kinds of hobby goodies, Grey Tide Studio bits to spice up your Space Marines, Army Painter paints, brushes, basing cork, and glue, ultra thin and ultra thick super glue. And we have terrain. It's the best way to support us doing what we do by getting a membership. Each month, members get a credit, good for any one terrain pack we've ever made, or the brand new one. New in February, we have created the Invaded City Bits Pack, a series of thematic pieces to tell the story of an alien civilization awakening underneath an oblivious Gothic city. This pack features tile bits for filling in the flat sections of bases, and many obelisks and pyramids of varying sizes to show off the power of this alien architecture. There's also plenty of Gothic elements to show the poor human settlements that are quickly being overtaken by implacable metal. And of course, no alien takeover would be complete without some critters to sprinkle some otherworldly flavor over your bases. This terrain is available physically and as STL from EonsOfBattle.com. I'm really happy with my guy, and I sealed in all the flavors with some satin varnish, and my little trader is battle ready. I am really excited about the color scheme of the Angels of Ecstasy and how good this is looking, and how good I think this would look on some Noise Marines of my own, taken in vanilla Chaos Space Marines. They're just so much better in vanilla Chaos Space Marines, it's not even funny. In that new Huron Blackheart detachment, they can potentially have +1 to hit, so those 18 essentially heavy bolter shots are hitting on 2s with lethal or sustained. That's just really good. I think my Chaos Space Marine army is probably going to include 2 squads of Noise Marines, and a Hellbrute to back them up, And that Hellbrute would be a really fun opportunity to kitbash and convert one of the old Sonic Dreadnoughts. I don't know when the last time that was an actual unit in 40k, but it totally should be. I'm feeling very Slaaneshi, and the last thing to do on this little Slaaneshi Space Marine is the base. I've been looking forward to this. I want to make some bloody red marble. I painted some black paint over the cork to make sure everything was properly sealed. Then I took a wet wipe and carefully started pulling it apart. As the fibers get stretched, it makes some open spots that the paint can slip through, and I stretched this over the surface, holding it tight, using a bit of wire to hold it down in the middle. I sprayed some dark red over the surface, and after pulling away the wipe, it left me with some truly random patterns. I did the same thing again, this time spraying with a pure red. I really liked the pattern it laid down, but it didn't leave as much color as I wanted, so I hit this again with the bright red. Now that I'm satisfied with the red, I did one final pass of pink, not tearing the wipe as much so that less pink gets left behind than the other colors. Once that was on there, I took some red and dry brushed this over the cork so the natural edge of the cork looks like the shattered edge of the marble. I put some gloss medium over the marble surface, and I'm happy with how this is looking, so I glued down my marine with a dollop of thick super glue. I'm kind of intrigued with how the marble turned out. I was kind of running an experiment to see. With my Chaos Space Marines, I set them on this molten, jagged rock, and I wanted to see if I kept the red, if I could do multiple different basing schemes, but keeping that color consistent, the army overall would look consistent. It's kind of like the red level of a video game. All of the textures are different, but if they're all the same color, would it still kind of work together? And I think it does. I would look for some like broken pillars and things to spice it up a little bit, but I do think they look good together. Overall though, I am really pleased with my Angel of Ecstasy. I really like how his head looks, the blue skin. It reminds me of Pinhead from Hellraiser, but I feel like it's a really nice look for an Emperor's Children-y, Slaaneshi kind of Space Marine. I am definitely going to be remembering this recipe for later, and please let me know in the comments below what Chaos Space Marine, Legion, or Warband should I take a look at next. And don't forget about Exter, linked below.